Yo, coming to you live from the beautiful Sydney, Australia, as you can see here. And today we are on episode number 2 of our Young Adults Bible Study. We're going to be diving into the second book of the Bible, Exodus. And this book is all about how Moses took the Israelites out of Egypt and into the promised land. It is going to be action-packed. It is going to be awesome. And we are going to dive into every single verse that we can use as young adult Christians in our everyday lives to make an impact. Let's get after it. Yo, welcome back, guys. As mentioned before, travel's a little stuck right now due to COVID-19, so I'm not coming to you live from Sydney, Australia, like you saw before, but the beautiful Playa del Carmen, Mexico, per usual. And before we dive into that super brief overview of Exodus and diving into the biggest takeaways for us in the book of Exodus, I want to say, if you like these Bible guides, if these are helping you grow closer to the Lord and understand the Bible just a little bit better as a young adult Christian, first, please hit subscribe below. You know, you don't want to miss out on a single book of the Bible or a single video, and we're going to be coming out with new ones every single week for you guys. Secondly, give this video a like so we can continue to share God's love around the world. And thirdly, share this with friends. Jesus' last message to the world before he ascended to heaven was to make disciples of all nations and to spread his word far and wide. So share the good news, get your friends involved in this Bible study, and let's continue to grow and learn together as we dive in to Exodus. Exodus naturally picks up where Genesis left off and where we left off in our previous video. Joseph and his brothers are living fruitfully in Egypt, and over the course of several hundreds of years, end up multiplying into a huge nation of Israel. They multiplied so much so and became so strong that the Pharaoh of that day was like, ooh, dang, they might begin to start overthrowing me, start overpowering me. So he mandated to kill any baby boys under 2 to keep the population down and ended up enslaving the Israelites. So Moses' mother was brave as hell and ended up placing her newborn son in a basket and floating him down the river to save his life. That baby ended up getting picked up by Pharaoh's daughter, and who do you think that baby was? Of course, Moses. So Moses luckily ended up actually growing up in the palace. And once he got older, probably around our age or so, he got mad at a guard that was mistreating his people, the Israelites, and ended up actually killing him. And because of this, he had to flee and live as a shepherd for over 40 years in the desert until God came to him in a burning bush and anointing him basically as the savior of Israel, and that he had to go back to Egypt and free his people from slavery. I mean, talk about a dope sign from God. So Moses actually went back and spit the famous words, Pharaoh, Pharaoh, let my people go. And he sent the 10 plagues on Egypt to force Pharaoh into letting the Israelites go. Pharaoh finally agreed after God created the first Passover and killed every firstborn Egyptian son. But Pharaoh didn't agree for long. And soon after Moses led them out of Egypt, Pharaoh sent an army to chase after him. And this is when Moses famously parts the Red Sea, walks through dry as burnt toast, and then once all his people and all the Israelites were through the Red Sea, it collapses and drowns the Egyptian army, leading them into their quest to the promised land. But believe it or not, the action does not stop there. Moses then starts taking them through the desert and stops at Mount Sinai, where he goes up and gets the 10 Commandments famously and speaks directly to God for 40 days. When he comes down, he actually sees the Israelites praising false gods and idols, and he angrily smashes the 10 Commandments, and God was about to bring wrath on the people and just destroy them, wipe them completely off the earth. But Moses pleads with him, and the Lord actually saves their lives. And because of this, Moses is instructed to make the 12 tribes of Israel a portable tabernacle with the famous, of course, Ark of the Covenant in it. And then God continues to provide for them as they cross the desert on the way to the promised land. Now, that's obviously a super, super brief overview of an absolutely action-packed book at the start of the story of Moses. But what can we as young adults in the 21st century, in 2020 right now, take away from this? And the first big takeaway that we're going to talk about is even the greatest leaders of all time can't do it alone. I want to repeat that again. Even the greatest leaders of all time can't do it alone. So when you dive into Exodus chapter 6, verse 30, you can actually see this. But Moses said to the Lord, "Since I speak with faltering lips, why would Pharaoh listen to me?" Then the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have made you like a god to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet." Not only does God reassure Moses that all you have to do is trust in the Lord and he'll handle the rest. Like I've said it a million times, and I'm going to continue saying it a million times. God works off of availability, not ability. When you believe and trust in him, he'll give you the ability. You just have to be available to him. But let's look at this. What does he fill his weakness with? Another person. God can and will use other people in a community, like the online community that we have at youngadultchristians.com, or the community that you're in at your local church, to help fill your weaknesses. So when we take a step back from this, if Moses, one of the greatest leaders of all time, can't do it alone, why do we think we can? No one is a self-made man. And God places others in our community, in our life, to fulfill those weaknesses. So in our togetherness, we can rise up to any challenge, any struggle that we're facing. God's going to place those right teammates in your life, those right coworkers in your life, those right relationships in your life that will be by your side to get the project done. That spouse to fill your own weaknesses when it comes to raising your first child. He'll bring the people you need to lift you up if you allow him. So then looking just kind of like at the significance of this, the saying, "Pharaoh, Pharaoh, let my people go," and the turning of the staff into the snake, and like all the 10 commandments that were brought onto Egypt. It wasn't even Moses that said that. Think about that. That famous word that we all attribute to Moses, that famous time that we all attribute to Moses, it wasn't even Moses that mustered the words because he had faltering lips, because he had a speech impediment, because he couldn't speak well. It was Aaron who said all of that. That's how much Moses needed help from others to perform the amazing miracles that God put through him. So think about how much you might need other people throughout your life, throughout your journey, to get you to that end destination that God has for your life. So you have holes, great. You're struggling during this time, or have a specific obstacle that you don't know how to overcome in your young adult life. You don't know if you're qualified for that job, or you feel that you can't give that presentation. And that's A-okay. We've all felt that way before, and we're not perfect like God is. And that's exactly why God placed you here in our young adult Christian community. That's exactly why God placed that sister that you have that's always positive, that's always there to lift you up. That's exactly why there's that coworker that you have that's a great speaker, to your genius analysis work that you did to put the presentation together on the same team as you. We get it, and we are all here for you. And in a community like this, your friends, your family, your coworkers, and others can really help fill those weaknesses and help you conquer the challenges that you're facing in your everyday life. Just like God used Aaron to help Moses conquer the challenge. You just have to open up and let them in and allow God to bring those people in your life, just like Moses did with Aaron. So think about it. Even Jesus, the greatest leader of all time. So if Moses is the second greatest leader in biblical history, think about Jesus, the greatest leader of all time. Not just in biblical history, but in history in general. Even greatest. Even Jesus, the greatest leader of all time, needed the disciples. Because together, when you let others in and ask for help, when you need it, we can lift you up. And each other, we can lift each other up higher and higher and hold each other up there longer than if we ever tried to do it alone. So, big takeaway number one, even the greatest leaders of all time need help from others. And so do we. And big takeaway number two, numero dos, the only Spanish I know for us young adult Christians that we can add in our every single day lives, is that when you seek the Lord first, he will always provide. When you dive into Exodus chapter 16, verse 4, you can see this lesson so painfully clearly. It says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people will go out each day and gather enough for that day, no more. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions." Now, let's give a little more context here on the bread raining from the sky. It's not just like hashtag get that bread 2020. As the Israelites were journeying through the desert, naturally they became hungry, thirsty, running low on food, getting hangry. They didn't have that 2 p.m. snack at Doritos like we have. So the hangry Israelites were mad at Moses for leading them out of Egypt, where they had plentiful food and plentiful fish and plentiful veggies. And they thought they were going to starve in desert because they didn't truly trust and believe in the Lord like Moses did. So Moses brought the Lord this issue. And this verse is what the Lord spoke back. I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people will go out each day and gather enough for that day. No more than that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. And let's just hit a side note here. If anyone knows how to get that bread, it's God. I can just picture him rain down bread like we would do with dollars, just singing to himself like how glorious he is. Like, all right, someone's got to give me a beat here. He got that manna. It's in your hand. They go bananas, cause all they eat is manna. He's got that bread. It's in your head. Can't feel your shed, cause in one day it's that he got that manna. It's in your hand. He go bananas. All right, cut it. We done. But anyways, off that side note, off that sidetrack, download my mixtape. But anyways, when we dissect this verse and think about the context of it, this is in essence God's way of saying so simply, just trust in me. That's all you have to do. Just trust in me. That's all he's asking, and all he needs in that moment is trust. Don't store it thinking that it'll last you for weeks or months and that I won't provide for you tomorrow. Take what you need for today and trust in me that I'll be your provider tomorrow and every single day for the rest of your life. And when God says that, he doesn't lie. He means business, and he won't let you down. The Israelites tried to store more, but guess what happened? It rotted after the first day. But the Lord, being the gracious God that he is, sent more the next morning, and more the morning after that, and the morning after that, and the month after that, and the month after that. And he did this as long as his people followed his instructions, believed, and trusted in him, that he would keep on being the provider for Israel. So, especially as young adult Christians, when we're starting our first jobs, when we're getting our first internships, when we're leaving a job and getting to a new one, what we need to realize and really sink in is that our job, our career is not our provider. Our business is not our provider. Our boss is not our provider. Our parents, for some of you, are not your providers, at least anymore. You're over 18 now. And the government isn't your provider. God is. And all of these different things will fail you at some point because we're all humans. These are human-made things. These are earthly-made things that are not built to last eternity. You're going to lose jobs that you love. The government is going to let you down. Your boss is going to yell at you, and your boss might fire you at some point. And your parents aren't always going to be sending you money. All of these are momentary and will leave you at some point and fail you at some point. But God never will. So when you give up your life to him and allow him to truly be your provider and trust in him fully to take care of you financially, emotionally, physically, and more, he will. If he didn't let the Israelites down and rain down bread from out of absolutely nowhere, it was literally raining bread. Just think about that. For 40 years straight, every single morning. What do you think he'll do for you? So our big and final takeaway from the book of Exodus for us young adult Christians is this. God is your ultimate provider. And when we trust in him and his plans fully over ourselves and over our own understanding, he'll provide exponentially over what we expect and what we even need. So, comment down below your biggest takeaways from Exodus. I really want to see this. Your biggest takeaways from this videos. And comment down below if you had any different big takeaways from the book of Exodus or from our blog post and this video in general. Talking about our blog post, if you haven't already, we have this in article form as well on our website for an easy, quick read for you at youngadultchristians.com. The link will be down in the descriptions. The book of laws is coming up next. Leviticus, it is going to be awesome. So make sure to subscribe, invite your friends so we can grow the church and really grow together, and tune in next week for that. God bless, stay awesome, and let's stay connected and let's grow God's church.